What's up guys, and welcome back to another video, and this is going to be the very first video of the year as well as the very first video of the thriller series that I had introduced at the end of last year. So yeah, this is the very first video of the Thriller Book World series, and today I'll be talking about the books written by Indian authors. Now very much when we talk about Indian authors, there's lots of books about religion as well as a lot of thriller books based on religion, talking about a lot of conspiracies of religion and the stories included with it. And the most famous writers as such are Ashwin Sanghi and much more. The many other Indian writers such as Rabindranath Tagore, where he has written a lot of poems as well as has written the national anthem as well of our country. And it's wonderful that the writers, singers, even lyricists all compose and write and publish books as well. One of the most notable ones as well is Ruskin Bond, Rabindranath Tagore. They were all notable writers as well, and many of people would also be known about the Malgudi days. A lot of my parents' generation would definitely know the book, as well as in my generation will definitely know the book of Malgudi days. So yes, we do have a diverse heritage of books written, but today I'll be seeing to a more new style of writing thriller books by Indian authors, much very similar to the ones written by American authors or English authors. But yes, we'll be talking about much more a thriller books liked by a wider audience, rather not only for Indian audience but a wider audience as well. The first book that I'll be showing you will be a collection of short stories, and it's written by none other than Ruskin Bond. As you can clearly see, it's written by Ruskin Bond, and if you have no idea who Ruskin Bond is, as he's an Indian author and also he had written the very first book, The Room on the Roof, which was about 1956, and he had won one of the most best literary prizes, that is the John Llewellyn Prize, and that's the very first book Ruskin Bond wrote. And he went on writing 500 novels short stories, and some of them for children. And Ruskin Bond is a very well-known author in our country as well as in a global stage as well. So we have a book here which has a collection of short stories. Now why I have included it in the thriller series is that he has written some thriller stories in this collection, and there are other authors as well in this book, which includes Arthur Conan Doyle. We got Mary Bella Columbus, the Lodger, or Conan Doyle, the Red-Headed League, as well as Wilkie Collins, The Duel, Bram Stoker's, and much more. So basically there's a lot of ghost stories, some crime stories, and some conspiracy stories of various regions in India, where he's written a short story about it and made it such a blood-curdling tales written by Ruskin Bond out here. As you very well know, in India we have a lot of sites that are known to be haunted, as well as many people refrain from going to these kind of sites, but there's always a conspiracy of these sites. Many people have different stories for the same site, and it's quite intriguing as to what the original story is and you going exploring it. It's quite an invigorating thing, and Ruskin Bond has written some of these sites, some of the tales, as well as some ghost stories as well, and some crime stories, which makes it an absolutely banger of a book which you need to read by Ruskin Bond. If you haven't tried out, you better need to read Ruskin Bond. He's one of the best authors that we have ever known. The second book that we'll be talking about is That Night by Nidhi Upadhyay. Now I had again the privilege of, I had posted a book review about That Night, and the author as well commented on the post. It was a long while ago, but I do remember all these. So yeah, thank you so much for interacting with my post, Mr. Nidhi ma'am. It's an honor. It's a very big honor. So yeah, That Night by Nidhi Upadhyay, and that's a very, very gripping, invigorating thriller story. This book has 4 friends wherein during the college time they had to hide a very dark secret, and after graduating from college they kind of go on with their lives, all went on doing good, whereas somehow the dark secret that was kept hidden in the college time was resurfaced by a person who was quite well with tech and kind of hacking into all of these false computers and sending on signs or mails, something of that sort, kind of bringing the past back again, kind of lighting the fire again. And then these friends kind of start, like, what do you say, suspecting each other, and then they start to go more deep into who is doing this, why are they bringing the past back, and what's happening again, is it a ghost or something of that sort. So yeah, so at the end they kind of find the thing, I would say the thing, because you need to read out to find out what's going to happen, the thing that was responsible for bringing back the past, how the thing was related to the past, and also you would get to know what was a dark secret that had resurfaced, because these are the main plot lines of this book that makes it so crippling. And it's an absolute page turner, so you just go about reading chapter by chapter by chapter and you will not get to know the time. So you read more and more and more and kind of get to know the secret, who's doing it, why they're doing it, and why each and every person or the 4 friends were involved in the dark secret. It's quite invigorating, and you have to read this book. That is That Night by Nidhi Upadhyay. Third book that I would definitely recommend is The Waiter by Ajay Chowdhury. This is the one. Now this book is also very nice, okay, and I have no complaints about this book. Especially it's fast paced and it has a very good story where a policeman or an ex-policeman who has left his country, again India, and has come over to the UK in a tourist visa, working in a restaurant, in his father's friend's restaurant as a waiter. And suddenly what happens is the family or the owner who owns the restaurant is kind of invited by a very rich person or a millionaire in UK for a party. Now what happens is that these people, yes, as they're invited, and the owner of the restaurant very well knows the person or the millionaire, so they go to his party, and then things go on how a party works, and then suddenly there's a murder of someone. Now, as you know, the waiter, who was an ex-policeman, wanted to wanted to find the root cause. That's what's happening, as his police instinct kicked in, I would say. And he kept on finding out secrets, and then you kind of find out why was the policeman, let's say, left his old job and had come to the UK to work as a waiter rather than a police person in his home country, why he had done that, and what happened to the case that he was handling, and what happened to the current case, who murdered the millionaire, who was the person murdered, and how each family member was vindicted, and the suspects are involved, and it looks like everyone is involved in the murder now. And yeah, at the end you find out who the person's involved or a person involved in this entire conspiracy as to who killed the millionaire. And also, while you're going through, this is the main plot line of the book, but when you go more and more reading with it, you also understand some traditions of India, especially the Bengali tradition has been emphasized in this book, which you will get to know more about the love of sweets for all the Bengalis, as it's a sweet capital for us. If you were talking about sweets, then if you're in India and talk about sweets, you definitely have to come to Bengal. And definitely the people in India will definitely know Bengal is a place for your sweets. And you understand a little bit of Bengali tradition, which is interlinked with Indian tradition, more about an insight as to how an Indian family lives. So yeah, this book covers it all, the thriller aspect, the cultural aspect, as well as a plot line that is quite crippling. So therefore, I have no complaints on this book, and it's quite an exciting read for you guys. Alright, the next book that we will be talking about will be this book. Yeah, as you can see here, it's Murder in Mahim by Pinto. Now this book is quite an invigorating story again, but I have only one complaint with this book is that it's kind of slow, but it's a good book. The story is nice, how the crime was depicted was nice, and the entire environment of this of the city, the crime scene, the people, the characters, it was quite well written and quite showed properly or portrayed properly as a reader, I would say. But it was a bit slow. That's all is my complaint. Whereas this book is quite good. Now this is basically what happens is a person who's kind of poor and is also a bit of a queer, I would say queer as well, is found dead in the toilet of a railway station in Matunga Road. Now Matunga Road is a place near in Mumbai. So what happens is, and a retired journalist, Peter Fernandez, who's retired again, a journalist, he finds out about a murder that had taken place because he's in a close friend with a police inspector who's kind of who's in charge of the case and kind of finds out who was the person involved in this. Now as Peter Fernandez is a journalist and he's kind of retired, again he got a journalist instinct up and wanted to know more about the case and what's happening and why was the person involved killed. As we go inside more into the stories, you kind of get an overlay of how Mumbai is. You understand how average family stays in Mumbai. The cultural aspect is also brought into the book and how Mumbai is. You kind of get an overall idea, as well as how the Indian people live in there and the different communities in India that is in Mumbai, and how the Mumbai city basically get a quite an environmentalistic view of how the city is and how the city runs. And also you get more and a hands-on imagination as how the Indian people are in the city. You get to know more about it and how the mentality of the police people are and how good they are, how bad they are. That's based on the reader and it's on their opinions, but it's well portrayed in here and not taking any biased sides. The author, I'm saying from an author perspective, there's no bias side taken by the author. He has portrayed all the bads and the goods properly with no opinionated bias out here. So which is pretty good and very difficult to do while writing a book like this. Yeah, so there's a murder taking place in a railway station toilet of Matunga Road in Mumbai, and the retired journalist wants to get more and more about the case and has to understand what happens. So as the police inspector and the journalist go more in depth to the case, they understand there's a huge racket in Mumbai based on a job which we get to know when you read the book, which is quite dangerous, but it's quite appealing to the people who are below poverty line and were in urgent need of money. They can make quick money out of here as well as and live a life that they wanted. So the inspector friend name is Jinde, and he discovers a world, or basically a racket, where there's greed, despair, as well as desire. And as they go more and more in depth into this racket and who the person kills, a lot of people die as well in this. And more it enters in, you find the entire racket being opened up. It's like a spider web, and each web is cut. And you go on reading the book more and more. And then you understand the situation of poverty. That's not the only answer to answer poverty. Some people actually are very genuine and find their jobs and go about struggling their life to earn the money and the life they wanted. Whereas there's some other people, as there are goods and bads, this is the bad side of it, and you understand what's happening and the racket, how it works, and how the people involved go about doing the racket, and you understand why the person who was killed in Matunga Road why was he killed, and you understand the entire racket there. Yeah. So that's the book by Murder in Mahim by Pinto. It is well portrayed, well environmental idea of the city. You understand the racket, you understand the needs of people, you get a cultural aspect, and you understand how an average Indian citizen lives in Mumbai, and you understand how the city works as well. So yeah, it's a great book and as well very nice, but the only complaint that I would have is it's a bit slow. A bit fast-paced. It would be very nice. Now, the next book that I'll be talking about is The Girl Who Disappeared by Vikrant Khanna. Now, he's also a well-known author and who has written many books as well on thriller books. Now, this book is quite a fast-paced book, and again, I have no complain about this book because I liked it, and there's a bit of psychological thriller aspect um, linked with the book, as well as the book before that is Murder in Mahim. So there is a psychological and a social commentary rolled up into one kind of a book, so you can understand how the book will be. So Murder in Mahim as well, a bit of psychological aspect is involved. Now when the book in question now is The Girl Who Disappeared by Vikrant Khanna, there's a lot of psychological aspect involved. So basically what happens is a newly engaged couple or a new couple who had a new couple, they were peacefully living their life in a living arrangement, happily. Yeah, they're just living. Yeah, nothing else to say. They're just living, and then there was a boy, and then in the couple, the boy had an ex, yeah, an ex-girlfriend who was quite, let's say, obsessive of the boy, as well as a very harmful kind of woman. The boy's ex was. So they're kind of so sometimes the ex-girlfriend comes out and comes into the new home where the couple is living, kind of harm the lady involved, that's the new girlfriend of the boy, and always go on harming, shouting at her, angry at her. So you understand the situation, right? You you broke up and you found a new girl for your life, and then your old girl comes in and starts creating a havoc for your life. So it's kind of and it's not like 1 day or 2 days, it's been for some time. So it's kind of like a mental pressure on your head, as well as it's quite saddening as well, and kind of your happiness goes away with it. So what happened was these two people thought of kind of running away or escaping away into a holiday. So basically they actually were able to run into a holiday, which is the hill station in the Himalayas. Now you will get an idea of India, where there's snow, hills, and actually people enjoying their life. So yeah, so they go about and go into a resort in the hills, which is filled with snow. And again, as you know, there are some superstitious beliefs in India, and there's some sites wherein it is strange and people have a lot of stories and conspiracy stories with it. So yeah, again, here also we do have a conspiracy story related to it, and then that is a monster kind of being is kind of guarding the grounds where the resort is, and they tend to believe is the monster or the being is guarding the place and kind of harming the people. Anyway, so what happened was these people are living their life, and they went to the resort, lived their life. But now what happens is the ex calls up or somehow connects with the boy and says that I know where you live and I'll be coming again. So they're kind of pissed again. The whole thing, they had just escaped from the girl and the ex, and they came back again to this new resort, and again is the same thing coming round up again, right? So what happens next is they're living again and kind of tensed, and in that night the couple, the present girlfriend of the boy, is disappeared. Out of thin air, disappeared. Yeah, just disappeared. Hence the book, The Girl Who Disappeared, right? So they just disappeared out of thin air, and then in the resort there were many other people, and they kind of said that in the night they saw a huge spark and howling and a being that was present. That's what being told by the residents in the resort, and everyone heard a loud bang outside, and there was a being somehow, and that looks like the responsible for the girl who disappeared. And then the police was involved, and a lot of questioning had taken place, and they understand what exactly happened to the girl and other residents lying. And as we go more into the story, you understand that there's some people involved in it, and kind of the entire residents present in the resort were all involved, and some were lying, some had some malicious beliefs towards the girl, and much more secrets just comes up, unwinding slowly, and you get a lot of secrets and a lot of twists coming in the entire story. So this is a basic plot line where a couple runs away from an ex, and they kind of escape from that, and the girl disappeared somehow, and there's a conspiracy to it as to how she disappeared, and there was some spiritualistic or superstitious the girl disappeared, and there's some spiritual or conspiracy involved within how the girl disappeared, and the residents do confirm the conspiracy that there's a loud bang and a being present out there. So yes, that's how the story takes place, and the superintendent or the police goes about understanding who has done the kidnapping or what has exactly taken place. So the more and more that you enter the story, you unwind the secrets and you get to the bottom of it. So quite an interesting book, a fast-paced book, and it's an absolute page turner. So we go about reading. Yeah, that's The Girl Who Disappeared, and it's a wonderful book, and I would definitely recommend you all to read the book. Right, so these are the books that I would definitely recommend you all to read from Indian authors. There's some other books that I would definitely show as well. And yeah, thank you for tuning in, and it's the very first video Thriller Book World series, and I hope you like the video. Please subscribe and comment down below which book you like or which book you would go for, or if you have a better suggestion for me to try an Indian author or a book by an Indian author, I would definitely go and have a check as well. And yeah, thank you for tuning in. See you next time.